night, blue eyes that seldom gleam.
Others look past today as their guide.
Well, you know, I was sort of interested in seeing that first flight out, and I hadn't remembered until just this moment, but I had a rather large paycheck contingent on the first flight taking off.
I remember now.
That's right. I hadn't been paid, just like you. I hadn't been paid for the last 3 years.
That's right. We had a new airline. We're both pumpers.
That's right.
I flew the first flight as a first officer back then to San Antonio on the 18th of June in 1971.
The first day was remarkably well.
The first flight went to San Antonio at 6:30. Second flight went to Houston Intercontinental at 7 o'clock with borrowed captains because we didn't have captains that had enough experience to be pilot in command.
We were basically shown an office, a table, a teletype, and they presupposed we knew what we were doing and said, you start at 3 o'clock.
None of us knew what the hell we were doing. We pulled it off, but I mean, I think we probably loaded both passengers and the bag.
We each had an airplane, and we flew one. I flew the one down to Houston, and we picked up the dignitaries, brought them back to Dallas, put them on a bus, and took them down to the Fairmount for our big party. And Peggy House was our vice president of in-flight. And she told us, all the girls, that we couldn't spend more than 5 minutes with each person. And then we had to move on, because we were supposed to meet all the people that were there, and she was going to look at us. If we spent more than 5 minutes, she knew it.
We took a Boeing 737 and improved it the only way we knew how, with love. And that's reflected in our lovely colors and our hostesses who smile because they want to, not because they have to. 12 flights each day to Houston, 6 to San Antonio, for a lovable $20. You'll love Southwest Airlines. There's somebody else up there who loves you.
We were something fresh and new. We weren't the stale Braniff and Texas International doing the same thing, the same way for years. I mean, we came in with love and hot pants and, you know, just a whole different way of running an airline.
Telephone rings on a Saturday afternoon, and it says, I'd like to speak to Mr. Vidal. I said, speaking. He says, this is Lamar. He says, you got the job. It pays $1,000 a month. I want to meet you at the Hilton Hotel on Central Expressway, room da-da-da-da, and he hangs up. That's all. No chance to say, well, $1,000, is that all I'm going to get?
I was running a little late, as always. But I get there, and I think it was this police officer's first day also. And I don't even think he knew how to write out a ticket, to tell the truth. So I had to help him. So I wrote out my own traffic ticket. You know, he was like, now this is like Mockingbird and Lemon. Give me that thing. And just took it and wrote it out and signed and gave it back to him, speed off. So, you know, just getting to work on time. That's important here because we're an on-time airline.
The first thing that we were asked to do is go out and make a television spot with Jules Bergman from ABC News, who was present, and Nancy Grubbs and myself, and I had the ramp agent's uniform. We're supposed to go out and point out the airplane as it took off, and we got the wrong signal and pointed out a Continental DC-9 that was taken off instead of a Southwest Airlines 737. That was the first faux pas. Then we forgot our lines, and finally he just had to chop the whole thing. We couldn't even talk by the time it was over.
Old barn of a hangar. And it wasn't very impressive. In fact, kind of us, because some of us had come 1,000 miles down here, kind of wondering, hey, what did we get into? But it took some of the fellows are still here. It took us 2 days to open the hangar doors because they were rusted shut. The tracks was full of sand and stuff, and it took us 2 days to clean them out and move the doors back and forth and lubricate them and get the hangar doors open so we get an airplane in.
But it was fun. You know, you weren't sure about your job position there from 1 week to the next, but look at us now. It's unbelievable.
But dreams aren't captured easily. There's work before you're through.
The time and the effort's worthwhile when the impossible comes true.
and dreams have strength in numbers. For when a common goal is shared, the once impossible then comes true, 'cause of all of those who care.
We never had a problem with oversells or overbooking or anything of that nature. So, in fact, we even had, we started advertising early in those days, buy your ticket on the airplane.
Watching all the controllers come down because they wanted to see all these girls in hot pants, and you know, it was really kind of a kick. No idea what you were doing or what was going to happen or what was even expected of you. It was just like trying to convince everybody that this was a real thing.
No one really knew what was going on, and yet the airplanes came and went just like they were supposed to.
I think probably the most memorable commercial on television we ever ran was one of the first ones back in 1971 when we first started, with one of our aircraft taking off over a flight attendant.
There's two things that we've never done. The first commercial and that commercial were the only two commercials that people purporting to be Southwest Airlines employees were not Southwest Airlines employees.
Right.
And Captain Ogden flew the aircraft over her head. And he wouldn't let any of us do it because he was afraid it'd be too dangerous.
She stood there so bravely because I could see myself hitting the dirt. You know, it was just that close. They knew not to ask me not to do it.
And Captain Ogden, who was our Vice President of Flight Operations at the time, and also was flying that airplane, after he saw the picture, he says, "Damn it, Vidal," he says, "you gave me one of those damn smoky engines," and he says, "Look at that commercial, it really shows."
Remember what it was like before there was somebody else up there who loved you? There was no such thing as executive class service to Dallas, Houston, and San Antonio. With first-class legroom, free cocktails for everyone, and a schedule you could depend on. Remember?
Oh, there's several old ones. It's all the big hair ones.
Our love service just means having things around to make you happy. Like me. No one should wait for love, so we took it to in 10 seconds, or as quick as a wink.
My favorite would be the early ones. The ones, there's one with Deborah Stembridge, and there's one with C.J. Bostic and Sue Pratt. And I love them because we look so young, but we were very precocious for our age. 14 I was when I started. Herb loves us young women.
Southwest is the kind of airline it is because its people care. Well, I don't think there's any doubt that all the people, all 220 some who work for the airline, have great pride in it.
Our flight crews, they are something else. Like I said, everybody's really involved. They show an interest. They like people.
We all work together well, and we enjoy each other's company, and I think the passengers feel it. That's love.
That's our kind of love.
At Southwest Airlines, love is still our field.
I think the one thing that you can't find on another airline that you find at Southwest is the personal service.
I believe that for every dollar that our passengers give us, they're going to get $1.50 back in terms of service.
We do it because we want to and not because we have to. We care.
Well, love is really what the airline is all about. We love our passengers and they love us.
We really care.
At Southwest Airlines, love is still our field.
We're not going to move. We're going to stay right here at Love Field at a convenient gate.
Love Field's our home. That's where we started and got our beginning, and I hope that's where we stay from now on.
Love is Southwest Airlines.
Love is our home.
The people that want to get to Houston want to get to Houston fast. They don't want to drive 50 miles to an airport to go 200 miles.
Love is still our field.
Love is being close. In Houston, it's hobby. And in Dallas, love is still our field.
It was right after Lamar Muse left, and Herb and I at that time were still at the law firm in San Antonio, and at the time we were in Houston working on a case, and we got this call, come quick, you know, right away. So we had no clothes or anything because we were just planning on being in Houston overnight. So Herb had one pressed suit, and we got on the airplane, and he was concerned about it because he knew after the phone call that we would be in Dallas for 2 or 3 days. So Herb really doesn't like to call attention to himself, so he very quietly went to the back of the airplane to hang. Back then we had closets that you could hang 1 or 2 suits in. I mean, they weren't for the passengers, they were really for crew clothes. But anyways, he sort of tiptoed back and tried not to call any attention to himself, and he hung the suit in the back closet. And the flight attendant came back to him and said, "Sir, you can't do that. That's not for passengers." And he was still trying to be very low-key, and he was kind of whispering, sort of, you know, so that the other people wouldn't hear him. And he said, "It's okay, I'm the president of Southwest Airlines." And she said, "Yeah, and I'm the king of Siam."
My favorite all-time campaign was "We're Spreading Love All Over Texas." That song has stuck with me for however many years it's been.
We're Southwest Airlines coming to get you.
We're spreading love all over Texas, spreading love for you and me. We're spreading love all over Texas, spreading love to set you free. We're Southwest Airlines, come to get you. Southwest Airlines will take you away. Southwest Airlines don't save you, save you from a boring day.
When I went to work at Southwest Airlines, I was managing a Christmas tree lot. And it was getting closer and closer to Christmas, so I knew I wouldn't have a job soon. I started out as coffee service, secretary, payroll clerk, accountant, reservationist, and ticket agent. Those were my 6 titles in my first job.
It took several months and, well, a year before we had our first Friday down in Hobby where we boarded 1,000 customers in one day. But you know, now we can do 1,000 customers just on a morning shift.
I think one that sticks out in my mind more than any of the rest is the one where Herb Kelleher misses his airplane.
I'm standing there talking about the 10-minute turn.
And all of a sudden the door closes and he's knocking, "Let me in," and the airplane just pushes back.
And I think it's as much as the look on his face, I believe, just gives me a chuckle every time I see it.
You know, I was in 3 or 4, and picking one of those is going to be awfully tough. Would you give me a little time to mull that over? At Southwest Airlines, we want our passengers to spend their time in the air, not on the ground. That's why we invented the 10-minute turnaround. Our planes pull into the jetway, board passengers, and pull out again in 10 minutes or less. The way we look at it, the quicker you're in the air, the quicker you get where you're going. Kelleher here.
You're gonna love our Southwest spirit.